I never thought a canceled flight could ruin my dignity and simultaneously fix my broken heart. Of course, I was standing at gate 22, glaring at the monitor like it personally betrayed me, when he appeared, like some tragic hero from a movie I didn't deserve to watch. "Excuse me, do you know if the shuttle to the hotel is still running?" His voice was smooth, almost too calm for the chaos of screaming children and exhausted travelers around us. He held his suitcase like a lifeline, fingers wrapped tightly around the handle. I think so," I muttered, instantly regretting the weakness in my tone. He looked at me, tilting his head just slightly, and I swear I could feel my brain short-circuiting. We ended up sharing the shuttle. I don't even remember how its start. It was supposed to be a simple, courteous journey, but the conversation just flowed. He laughed at my sarcastic jokes, and somehow, by the time we arrived at the hotel, I was laughing at my own jokes too. Not because they were funny, but because he made them sound like they were. The hotel lobby smelled faintly of vanilla and disinfectant, a bizarre combination that somehow suited our awkward energy. I was fumbling with the check-in when he stepped closer. "I can help," he said, and I wanted to groan at how much I wanted him to, and yet also blush that he offered. The elevator ride was torture. Too close, too warm, too human. The kind of closeness that makes your chest tight but your stomach flutter. And there it was, the unspoken understanding that neither of us wanted to sleep alone. Not tonight. We were assigned adjacent rooms at first, but he paused outside the door to mine. "It's silly," he said, almost laughing at himself. "But would you, maybe, want to share? It's just one night." I swallowed hard, my mind screaming, "Don't! It's a disaster waiting to happen." But my heart didn't listen. "Yeah," I whispered, trying to sound nonchalant and failing miserably. And that's how I found myself sitting on the edge of a king-sized bed with him, the city lights outside throwing faint shadows across his face. He looked impossibly close and impossibly far all at once. I wanted to say something smart, something witty, but the words lodged themselves somewhere between my throat and my racing heart. We laughed about the absurdity of it. Strangers stranded at an airport, now apparently intimate co-conspirators for the night. And then we fell silent, the kind of silence that hums, heavy with unspoken things. "Do you usually do this?" I finally asked, my voice low, careful not to shatter the fragile bubble of connection. He chuckled, leaning back slightly. "Do what? Sit with someone in a hotel room when you barely know them?" "Not really," he admitted. "But sometimes you just know." That simple sentence made my chest ache. I wanted to argue, to remind myself that this was absurd, reckless even, but every rational thought got lost in the warmth of his presence. We moved closer. Not a deliberate move, just the natural pull of gravity and nerves. His hand brushed mine accidentally, I told myself, though my stomach disagreed. He caught my fingers, holding them lightly, and for a moment, the world shrank to the two of us. "Are you cold?" I asked, though I wasn't sure if I was asking about the room or about him. "Maybe," he said, shrugging. And then, almost shyly, he shifted closer, letting his shoulder rest against mine. My heart thumped so hard I was sure he could hear it. We laughed again, quieter this time, soft and intimate. No one else existed. The storm outside the window mirrored the whirlwind in my chest, lightning flashing against the clouds, rain drumming, yet inside, a strange calm. By midnight, the conversation had faded. We were lying side by side, careful not to cross invisible lines, but the space between us was electric. His fingers traced idle patterns on the back of my hand, and I couldn't tell if it was intentional or instinctual, but I didn't care. I closed my eyes, pretending to sleep, but I could feel him. Smell the faint scent of his cologne mixed with hotel soap. Hear the soft rhythm of his breathing. Every so often, our hands brushed, fingers intertwining as if they'd known each other for years. The night stretched endlessly, a delicate tension between hesitation and inevitability. Somewhere in the darkness, I realized I didn't want it to end. I didn't want to go back to reality, to the sterile loneliness of the airport, to the empty spaces in my life that his presence somehow filled. And then, just before the rain stopped, We whispered promises we weren't ready to name, confessions that floated like fragile paper boats across the stormy sea of our emotions. It was reckless. It was sudden. It was terrifying. And it was somehow perfect. Morning came softly, almost too soon, with pale sunlight spilling into the hotel room. I blinked awake, groggy and disoriented, and the first thing I saw was him still asleep, his arm draped over the edge of the bed, hair tousled like a halo. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then reality crashed back. We had a 12-hour flight ahead, side by side, and I wasn't sure if I was ready for that much time with him. Breakfast in the hotel cafe was a quiet, almost tender affair. We didn't speak much, but the small glances, the brushing of knees under the table, the shared laughter at some absurdly overcooked pancakite all felt like a private language. Each moment stretched, heavy with anticipation and unspoken desire. At the airport, the chaos returned, but it didn't matter. We moved together like we were tethered, our suitcases bumping side by side down the terminal. Every time he looked at me, I felt the brush of that hotel night, lingering like perfume. Boarding the plane, the universe decided to play its little joke. Our seats were right next to each other. Window for him, aisle for me, the perfect arrangement for maximum discomfort and maximum temptation. I tried to settle, pretending to read the safety card, but I couldn't ignore him. He was there, just inches away, shoulder brushing mine, and the warmth from that accidental contact shot straight through my chest. The first hour was silent, punctuated only by the hum of engines and the occasional overhead announcement. Then he shifted, leaning slightly toward me. "Are you okay?" he whispered, voice low and teasing at once. I laughed nervously, feeling heat rise to my ears. "Yeah, just scared of being trapped in a metal tube with you for 12 hours. He smirked, and my stomach did that weird flip it had done in the hotel. Scared or excited? Maybe both, I admitted, knowing he'd catch every word in that way that made me want to confess more than I should. Time stretched endlessly. We shared snacks, exchanged music through tiny earbuds, whispered dumb jokes to each other that no one else could possibly understand. At some point, our hands brushed again, not by accident this time. His fingers found mine, curling around them, and the rest of the world fell away. The flight attendants brought meals, but neither of us really ate. Instead, we talked quietly about dreams, regrets, and all the little things that made us who we were. Somehow, in that tight, confined space, everything felt expansive. The sky outside was infinite, and I realized that, for the first time, I didn't feel small. Hours passed like minutes. He rested his head against my shoulder while I traced patterns on his sleeve, both of us laughing softly at how ridiculous and perfect the moment was. At one point, he whispered, "I don't want this to end." "Neither do I admitted, and it wasn't just about the flight, it was about everything that had led us here. Every misstep, every delay, every coincidence that brought our paths crashing together. By the time we began our descent, I realized I hadn't just survived the night or the flight, I had changed. I had found someone who made the world feel warmer, stranger, and infinitely more beautiful all at once. Landing was a bittersweet affair. Reality crept back in. Jobs, responsibilities, the outside world, but the connection we shared wasn't something that could be boxed or timed. He turned to me, eyes bright and mischievous despite the exhaustion. "So, dinner tomorrow." I grinned, a rush of relief and joy flooding me. "Absolutely, but only if you promise not to fall asleep mid-bite like last night." He laughed, the sound light and unguarded, and in that moment, all the awkwardness, the fear, the longing, they all melted away. I realized then that love didn't have to arrive in perfect timing or under perfect circumstances. Sometimes it was messy, unexpected, and completely overwhelming. And that was exactly how it was meant to be. We walked out of the airport together, shoulders brushing, fingers lightly intertwined. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing for certain. No matter how long the flight, how turbulent the skies, or how uncertain the path, I wanted him by my side. For the first time in a long time, I smiled without restraint. And as he caught my gaze and smiled back, I felt a quiet, steady certainty. This was only the beginning. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.